Hello friends, this is Fox Nival Studios. What if now we are here with new chapter of What If Naruto Trained by Black Dragon. Before starting story, please subscribe our channel and press bell icon for update. Story starts currently just below the clouds, traveling at an incredible rate of speed. Crossing over into the land of fire was Naruto, sprawled out on the back of Saphira with his arms behind his head, looking up at the clouds. Naruto was in deep thought, replaying his parents' words over and over in his mind until Saphira's tail came around and hit him right in the pit of his stomach. Groan asterisk. What the hell was that for Saphira? Coughed out Naruto while he was clutching his abdomen. Harumph. Saphira just huffed in annoyance before answering Naruto's question. I have been calling your name for the past 10 minutes, but you have been ignoring me since you summoned me. Now what's the matter? Sigh asterisk. I have found out how corrupt the leaf truly is. Huh, I am confused. I thought you already had dirt on like half the council. How much more corrupt could they be? Asked Saphira as she turned her head back to look at Naruto, who had now sat up facing her. A lot more. They were more or less the reason why Whirlpool, my family, is no longer here. Naruto, feeling his power slip due to his anger, took a second to compose himself before continuing. All because those bastards wanted my family to give up our secrets, and like any other clan they refused. So the Leaf decides to arm 3 nations with information of their defense security, all in an elaborate plan to wipe out the clans and strong-arm the following generations into giving them what wanted. Naruto felt his anger returning before he let out a small chuckle. He asterisk. But they underestimated the intelligence of the clans of Whirlpool and overestimated themselves, thinking their plan wouldn't get found out, and they are going to pay the ultimate price because of it. What exactly do you plan on doing in retaliation, Naruto-sama? He stared out at the sky before he answered her. That I haven't completely figured out, but the one thing I do know is that Whirlpool will be resurrected by any means necessary. Just then his attention was drawn away from their conversation due to his sensing ability. He could feel the ill intent laced in the air. Saphira, slow down a little and slowly start to descend. There is so much malice floating through the air I can almost taste it, and that doesn't sit well with me. Ordered Naruto as Saphira happily followed orders, as she got the feeling that she was going to be able to see her master fight outside of a spar. After a couple of minute of descending flight, Naruto activated his Rinnegan in order to get a view of what was going on at ground level, as they still too high to get a clear view. Naruto saw exactly what was going on. There was a large group compiled of mostly bandits and a few ninja preparing to attack traveling noblemen and their samurai guards. There had been about 40 civilian-level chakra signatures and 10 signatures ranging from High Chunin to Id Jonin. Being who he is, Naruto had already devised a plan on how he was going to spoil their party. Saphira, I want you to stay at this height while I go handle these idiots, Naruto said as he stood up on Saphira's back and put on his black dragon mask before jumping off, headed straight for the group. These idiots didn't even have enough common sense to attack from different angles, but instead they attack in one big group. This is going to be easy, thought Naruto as he pulled out a Hiraishin kunai and created 4 seal-less shadow clones who immediately dove through the trees in a box formation, where they then landed, while the original Naruto used his control over gravity and slowed his descent towards the ground to a crawl before throwing the kunai to the ground. The clones then ran through hand seals and called out 4 violet flames formation, producing a large purple barrier made from pure purple flames. Some of the trees caught fire due to touching the barrier, so Naruto used water-style water bullet jutsu to put out the flames before he landed softly in front of the samurai with their katanas unsheathed, ready to attack. Whoa, calm down. I am not your enemy. I was passing through when I noticed these low-lives preparing to ambush you, said Naruto as he pointed towards the barrier. What Naruto assumed to be the head samurai stepped forward. He was dressed head to toe in silver armor. What made him stand out was the red markings on his helmet. Who are you? And how do we know you aren't planning on attacking the fire daimyo yourself? So my godfather is in the carriage. Thought I would be a while before I got the chance to speak with him. I go by the name of Black Dragon. Allow me to deal with this, then I will leave. No harm, no foul, right? Questioned the blonde, but didn't give the samurai a chance to reply and disappeared in a yellow flash, only to reappear inside the barrier in front of the kunai, leaving the samurai and those inside the barrier dumbfounded. Naruto stood there analyzing the bandits and the few ninja among them. They all seemed so weak in comparison to what he has been facing in the civil war going on in the Hidden Mist village. Outside of one of the ninja he had saw, they didn't look as if even count as a workout. Aoi Rokusho. A ranked missing nin from the village hidden in the leaves. The dark-haired young man picked out the missing nin among the group who was pretty tall with green hair. He was wearing the standard uniform of the hidden rain village along with their headband. I am glad to see my reputation precedes me, Aoi arrogantly praised himself from the mystery man recognizing him. Actually it isn't your reputation that precedes you but the weapon you stole. The sword of the Thunder God, its reputation is the one that precedes because without it I doubt you would be even a B-rank ninja, Naruto said lamely as he and Kurama wondered why he was so high on his abilities when his everything about him in the bingo book outside of the sword of the Thunder God was average. Doesn't matter what you think because with this, raising his arm and bringing the sword of the Thunder God to life, no one can touch me. You know what? Since you think of yourself as invincible, unsheathing his guard-less black-bladed sword and pointing it towards Aoi. Allow me to show you just how insignificant you are, sword and all, as pure blue lightning completely coated the blade. Hey, you think just because you channeled a little chakra into your sword you can match the sword of the Thunder God? Scoffed out Aoi at the blonde's claim. Before Naruto could reply back, three of Aoi's companions decided to attack Naruto from three different fronts. But before they could even get close, blood splattered everywhere as all three had their heads decapitated. Squelch. What? ID didn't even see him move, was the collective thoughts of those who have actually trained, while the bandits shared a different thought, kill or be killed. Though it was short-lived as they found that they couldn't move. Hey, what the hell, I can't move, me neither, what's going on? Oh, that would be me. I placed a paralyzing seal on all of you so me and here can have our fun uninterrupted. Naruto walking towards Aoi who at this point was sweating bullets thinking he would be in over his head, the dragon-masked assailant walking towards him, but his arrogance kicked in. I don't care how much lightning he thinks he can produce, he can't produce enough to match up against the sword of the Thunder God, thought the former leaf ninja as he charged the slowly approaching Naruto with his sword overhead. Once he was in striking range he swung the blade down with tremendous force only to be met by Naruto's lightning-coated blade in a powerful clash that forced both of them apart due to the output electricity. Aoi charged again, wildly swinging the sword of the Thunder God only for Naruto to gracefully dodge with bare minimal movements, only using his lightning-coated blade to deflect a few of his attacks. This pattern went on for a few minutes and Aoi hadn't even come close to landing a hit on Naruto and Naruto hadn't struck Aoi. Both for completely different reasons. Naruto hadn't tried to strike Aoi playing defense only and Aoi hadn't hit Naruto simply because he couldn't. Every move he tried Naruto had an effortless counter move making Aoi look like an academy student. Naruto, stop playing with this weakling and end this already, this isn't even remotely entertaining, came the frustrated voice of Kurama. I agree with Kurama, young master, this fight does posses and good opportunity, Sieg voicing his opinion. What do you mean? Questioned Naruto, only mildly paying attention to his opponent. Well, with time, the assimilation of the spirits and us starting to become one, I think your body can now handle those techniques, so you can use these weakling scum as practice dummies so to speak. Ducking under a horizontal slash before delivering a devastating jumping spinning back kick right to Aoi's face, sending him crashing 2 trees and being embedded in a third. I love that idea, but first, reactivating his Rinnegan and holding his hand out, universal pull. Ripping the sword of the Thunder God right out of Aoi's hand. Wouldn't want this being destroyed, as he put the hilt into his cargo pocket on his right leg. Aoi was speechless, he was being stared at by what he believed to be a story fable, the legendary Rinnegan. I am possible, it's not true, they were just stories, Aoi was mentally muttering to himself, no longer caring about the sword of the Thunder God as he watched the lightning disappear from the black-haired man's blade and be sheathed. Holding up his right gloved hand, Naruto summoned a black flame around said hand. As the seconds go by, nature itself starts reacting to the power of this mysterious black flame. The earth starts to rumble and the skies darken with random lightning strikes. Throwing his fist toward Aoi and his companions, Naruto called out, "Dragon of the Darkness Flame." Upon release, the flames burst forth in an explosion as if having a mind of its own and thus difficult to guide once launched. After being released, the flames took the form of a giant Chinese dragon, composed entirely of black and purple flames. The dark energy then proceeds to instantly incinerate everything in its path. When the flames from the technique ended, there was nothing remaining but a crater in ash. Naruto looked on at the destruction and his smoking hand with only slightly heavy breathing. Finally, perfected. No damage to my hand and a significantly lower strain on my body and reserves. It seems that you are pleased, young master, very much so. The samurai were flabbergasted and the fire daimyo's eyes were about to pop out of his head looking at the destruction before him. The young man called for his clones to release the barrier and then they disappeared in puffs of smoke. Not wanting to let this destruction stand, Naruto clasped his hands together and performed a jutsu not seen since the first Hokage wood style. Nativity of a sea of trees, turning the area into a vast forest in a matter of mere moments, complete with trees and even grass growing out of the barren ground. Naruto then deactivated his Rinnegan and made his way over to the wide-eyed samurai who had been surrounding the fire daimyo's carriage. If you don't mind, I would like a word with the fire daimyo? The samurai were at a loss, they were too scared to deny him yet was to protect their lord. It's fine, I would like to speak with a young man as powerful as he is myself. The fire daimyo stepped out of the carriage. He has small, circular eyes and dark pupil. He also wears the standard daimyo headpiece. Now, what is it that you wanted to speak to me about, young man? Daimyo-sama, I have information regarding lost clans, but I am not going to release said information in such a public forum, said Naruto, dropping the hint at lost, which the daimyo picked up on and noticed the whirlpool headband untied around his right bicep. Fine. Let's go talk in private, the daimyo suggested, leading the way towards a tree line. You can't go with him alone, daimyo-sama, and why not? He could be up to something, and what per se could that be? He could have killed me and my guards when took out those nasty men, but he didn't, the daimyo speaking sense. Besides, a few minutes of my time isn't going to hurt anybody. That shut up any other argument his guards had and lead to him and Naruto moving to a location where they couldn't be seen or heard. Doing a twice over of the area to make sure the area was secure, he looked to the daimyo who was wondering what information this man had for him. Naruto looked the daimyo in his eye and removed his dragon Anbu mask that turned his hair golden blonde and lowered his face mask, revealing his bright sapphire blue eyes and 6 whisker marks adorning his cheeks. Minato. The daimyo was at an utter loss for words. Standing before him was his best friend, who he had long since accepted his death with a few differences. Sorry, I am not my father, Naruto? Yep, but they said you died. Who said I died? The Leaf Anbu, they showed up after the 9-tailed incident to inform me and my wife that Minato and Kushina had died along with their child. This pissed Naruto off. Do they have to have a hand in every aspect of my life? Thought an angry Naruto about the leaf until a thought hit him. What did these Anbu look like? Like normal Anbu with the exception of, "Nay," written across their masks, but what does that have to do with anything? Plenty. Those are the special forces of Danzo, who happens to have had a hand in destroying the clans of Whirlpool. That's quite a claim, without any proof. Oh, I have proof, but I didn't bring this up to you, to have you do anything to the leaf, but to have your backing in a little plan of mine. Oh, and what is this plan of yours? Naruto at this point was searching the fire daimyo emotions as he answered him. I want your backing as I may come to you later on in my quest to revive Whirlpool. Why would you need my backing? You are the inheritor of Whirlpool through your Uzumaki lineage. So through that fact alone no one can deny you of what's rightfully yours. You are correct on that fact, but because I am also the 9-tailed fox Jinchuriki and there are those who would do anything to keep the 9 tails as a weapon, so as to undercut their efforts before they even get the chance, I am going over everyone's head to my godfather who just so happens to be the fire daimyo. I see your dilemma, and I haven't kept up my godfatherly duties, so what better way than helping my godson solve his problems? Laughing a little, the fire daimyo walked up to Naruto and looked him in the eyes. So what would you have me to do? As of right now, nothing, but you know what, there is something my father said. He left some things in your possession in a letter he left to me. Do you think I could get those? Of course my boy, but I don't have them on me. They are at my palace, so come with me to come and get them. Besides, you coming back with me will put a smile on my wife's face. She hasn't been the same since she learned of your death. Remembering the state his wife was in after the news broke. She was so excited to be your godmother, and then when she heard of yours and your parents' death, it broke her. This broke Naruto's heart to hear. The fact that someone cared so much about him that it nearly mentally broke them to think that they would never get to see him. I am sorry, but right now as I have quite a few things on my plate, but I promise to come by in the next few weeks, spoke the blonde, feeling a little bad for not being able to put a smile on his godmother's face just yet. Seeing this, Naruto's newly recognized godfather pulled him in for a fatherly hug. Don't worry about my boy. How about this? I'll keep this little tidbit from her, so when you do show up it's you who puts that spark back in her life. Naruto responded in kind by hugging him back and agreeing to his suggestion. But I must warn you that when my wife sees you she may just squeeze the life out of you, mentally laughing at what he knew his wife was going to do to their poor godson. I am not that breakable, you don't understand. My wife has nearly killed her cat countless times due to her habit of squeezing the life out of things when she is happy, and the happier she is the harder she squeezes, the fire daimyo tried to explain to Naruto, which he scoffed at. I am positive that I am more durable than a cat. It's your funeral, I'll see you in a few weeks then, right? Absolutely, Naruto replied back as he watched his godfather head back towards his guarded carriage. While he did that he pulled up his face mask and put his dragon Anbu mask. Once he was in the safety of his samurai guards, Naruto snapped his fingers and jumped from tree to tree before he channeled a large amount of chakra into his legs and jumped out of the tree line, where Saphira then swooped in under him for him to land on her back. Naruto-sama, that was amazing, you finally mastered the technique, Saphira exclaimed, excited that she got to see the young master fight. I wouldn't say mastered, it could still use some tweaking, but enough about that I need you to floor it, that took a little too much time. No problem, just hang on, Saphira called out as she took off at almost the speed of sound headed towards their destination, the village hidden in the sand. A few hours later, after a few hours of flying at unheard of speeds, Naruto arrived at their destination, the village hidden in the sand, located in the land of wind. Being surrounded by desert offers the village a natural deterrent against invasion, as few foreign powers would be willing to endure the sandstorms and water scarcity common to the sand village. The sand village itself lies in a fortified valley behind cliffs of rock, with passage in and out of the village restricted to a single cleft between two cliff faces, making the area very hard to attack from the ground. The buildings inside seem to be made of clay or stucco, which would help to keep the buildings cool. Naruto and Saphira were a few miles above the village, hovering due to Saphira's exhaustion and Naruto's plan to sneak into the village. I know you are tired, girl. Go home and get a good rest, I'll probably be here for a few days before I summon you again, Naruto said while rubbing Saphira's back as she panted. Okay, pant Naruto pant sama. Saphira then disappeared in a puff of smoke, leaving Naruto to start plummeting towards the ground, but having the Rinnegan has its perks. Activating it, he used its control over gravity and slowed his descent until he harmlessly landed in a back alley. During his descent, Naruto pulled up his hood and activated his invisibility seal and his seal, which completely masks his chakra. After traveling through the alleyways for a few minutes, he saw a full-body sand cloak hanging from a clothes wire, which he took and put on so he could get a hotel room for the night without looking too suspicious, while also putting his dragon Anbu mask away, leaving only his face mask. Finding a nice hotel called Sand Sauna, Naruto bought a suite for a few days with the money Yoruichi gave him. Yoruichi had given him a scroll containing 2,200,000 yen. I will generally round up the yen conversions. The suite Naruto bought wasn't as nice as his room back in the Dragon Realm, but it was nice nonetheless. It was a fairly large room, nice king-size bed, beautiful furniture and a beautiful bathroom. When Naruto had arrived to the room, the first thing he did was place security and chakra suppression seals all over the room. After securing the room, Naruto laid his sword and gear on the bed and threw his clothes in a chair in the corner, leaving him as naked as the day he was born. Naruto had a body fit for a god, a perfect six-pack. He was lean with muscles in all the right places and stood at a respectable 5 foot 9 inches. Hopping in the shower, Naruto washing his hair, trying to get the sand from the desert and the blood from his battle out of it with some shampoo. Man, this dried blood is really hard to get out. I wish Ne-chan were here to do this for me. Hey Naruto, what do you plan on doing about Shukaku's container? From Range's reports, Shukaku's container's name is Gaara. I want to meet with Range tomorrow to see everything he knows about the kid and do a little surveillance before I make my move. Having finished his shower and put on a fresh pair of boxers and walked into the room to lay down only for an energy shockwave to blast him back slightly, when he looked up he saw Sieg floating above the bed, glowing with stream of light attached to his own chest. Sieg, what's going on? Why, young master, my body is going through a metamorphosis as I am binding myself to the spirits. The sword was at that moment encased in an orb of light, preparing to send out more shockwaves, but Naruto acted quickly and encased the sword and himself in an enhanced barrier. After a few minutes the light died down and Naruto released the barrier around the sword and himself, revealing no major changes. Sieg had merged his and Naruto's soul into one and had taken on a few new changes. The sword had a long black blade with a silver edge too. Inscribed into the blade were the elements, wind, water, fire and lightning. Naruto grabbed Sieg out of the air as he inspected the new changes. Sieg. How do you feel? Great, my power has finally merged with the spirits. I know this power will be of great use to you, young master. Now all that is left is for your soul to be merged with them, but that will be later. Now try to get some rest, as I'll be feeding information of how to use my new abilities to you while you sleep. Naruto couldn't disagree because he just feel the power rolling off the sword in waves. Good idea. Let's get some rest. Between everything that has happened today, I am kind of tired. Naruto climbed in the bed, laying his new sword down on the other side of the bed before letting sleep take over. The next morning 6 a.m. having woken up from a good night's rest, Naruto wanted to go through his normal training routine but couldn't due not wanting to look too suspicious, so he opted for 1000 push-ups, sit-ups and squats. After his small workout he got dressed in his usual attire, black cargo pants tucked into black combat boots, his utility belt containing his weapons pouch, multiple scrolls and his new and improved sword hanging from a short chain on his right hip, a black muscle shirt with his face mask pulled up, black leather hooded long-sleeved ankle-length coat, his arm guards and black gloves with silver-plated knuckles and plate on the back of the glove with the kanji for dragon. Naruto opted to tie his hair in a high ponytail to keep his hair from flying all about from sandstorms, also putting his dragon Anbu mask on his left hip before throwing on the cloak he stole yesterday. Naruto arrived at a small cafe just a little ways away from the hotel and decided to get a table and have breakfast. Having been greeted by a hostess and shown a table, a waiter came and asked to take his order. Good morning, sir, I'll be your waiter this morning, may I take your order? Yes, may I have 2 French toast, 2 eggs scrambled, 4 sausage and 4 bacon strips with a large orange juice. Finished ordering, Naruto handed the waiter his menu. I'll be right back with your orange juice and your meal should be out in a few minutes. Bowing light to his customer, the waiter took his leave. So, when are you going to find range so we deal with Shukaku? You're up early. As soon as I finish eating. I can sense him not too far from here. As Naruto carried on his conversation with Kurama, the waiter had brought out his meal and drink, then left him to his devices. A few minutes later, after Naruto had finished eating his breakfast, he walked up to the hostess to pay for his meal. Sir, your total comes to 2,364 yen. Handing her 3,000 yen, keep the change, the blonde left the cafe. The village hidden in the Sand Ninja Academy. Having used a body flicker, Naruto appeared out in the back of the Sand Village's Ninja Academy, where he found Range, who was initially shocked that someone had found him until he realized who it was. Who, Naruto-sama. Nice to see you, Range. Range was an white 4-legged wind dragon about the size of a large puppy with 2 large wings on his back. What are you doing here, Naruto-sama? I thought you were supposed to be handling the situation in the Mist Village. I was, but the situation at the moment is stalled, so I want to address the situation with Shukaku, and to do that I am going to need all the information you have on Gaara. Range and Naruto moved atop the academy under Naruto's invisibility seal to go unnoticed while Range gave him the rundown. Gaara is the 3rd, and youngest child of the 4th Kazekage and Kurora, also the younger brother of Temari and Kankuro. Prior to Gaara's birth, his father had Lady Chiyo seal Shukaku within him, in the hopes that he would become the ultimate weapon for Sanagakure, as he was the only one of the Kazekage's 3 children to be compatible with the beast. Gaara was born premature and was therefore an unusually small and frail infant. Before she died, Kurora passionately held her son, vowing to always protect him. Gaara was trained in ninjutsu by his father, but raised mainly by his maternal uncle, Yashimaru. As a child, Gaara made many attempts to connect to the people of Sanagakure, all of whom feared him because of his connection with the sand spirit, Shukaku. Seeing him only as the monster he contained, it seemed for a time Yashimaru was the only person who truly cared at all about Gaara. When Gaara unintentionally hurt others due to the subconscious abilities granted to him by the beast, Yashimaru alone understood that Gaara hadn't intended to harm anyone. The Sanagakure Council, however, considered Gaara's frequent attacks a serious threat to the village. Disappointed in the turn of events, Gaara's father decided to test his son by having Yashimaru attack Gaara both physically and psychologically in an attempt to see if Gaara could gain control over Shukaku. Yashimaru revealed to Gaara that his mother had never loved him, and tried to assassinate him, only to be fatally wounded by Gaara before the boy realized whom he had attacked. Although Gaara initially tried to consider Yashimaru's attack ordered by his father, Yashimaru lied to him and said he had willingly accepted the mission to kill Gaara. He also revealed that he had never truly loved Gaara, and told him that killing him would avenge the death of his sister, who had named him Gaara after the phrase, a self-loving carnage, as a sign of her intense hatred for Suna rather than her love for Gaara. In a last-ditch effort to kill Gaara, Yashimaru detonated a number of explosive tags covering his body, asking his nephew to please die. Using his sand, Gaara managed to survive the blast, but he lost the only person he had thought cared for him, not knowing the truth behind Yashimaru's actions. Gaara then used his sand to etch the kanji for love onto the left side of his forehead. Overwhelmed, Gaara lost control and transformed into Shukaku, and rampaged around the village before his father managed to stop him using his gold dust. After the traumatic experience of losing his uncle and being told nobody had ever loved him, Gaara became an aloof and cruel person who obsessively killed people in an attempt to prove his own existence, and to obtain recognition from the village. He gave up any and all desire for friendship. Seeing that Gaara was unable to cope with the loss of his mother's affection, the Cage deemed him a failure and arranged several assassination attempts on his son, which only made Gaara detest his father more. In time, Gaara's new ideology allowed better control over Shukaku. Appreciating this, his father cancelled all assassination orders, and revived the idea of someday using Gaara as the ultimate weapon for the village. Now in terms of Gaara's relationship with Shukaku, something is off. Shukaku deprives the child of sleep, makes him refer to him as mother and has him convinced that he needs to kill in order to prove his existence. By the time Range had finished his report to Naruto, the academy had started. Naruto had immediately recognized Gaara. Gaara is a little shorter than the average males of his age, due to the fact that he was born prematurely. He has fair skin and short, spiky, auburn hair with a striking resemblance to his father. He also has pale blue-green eyes. Gaara has no distinctive pupils or eyebrows. He has two very notable traits in his appearance. Firstly, he has tanuki-like black eye rings, having them since his birth. Secondly, he carved the kanji love on the left side of his forehead, having it since Yashimaru's betrayal. Gaara's forelocks are parted from the left side, making the kanji more visible. He wore black full bodysuit with t-shirt-like sleeves, 3/4 length legs, and an open neck. With this, he wore a white cloth over his right shoulder and the left side of his hips, and a wide leather band system over the left shoulder and right side of his hips. With this leather band, he carried around his gourd that contains his sand. Naruto had felt for Gaara, not out of pity but because he knew almost exactly what it was like to go through what Gaara went through. Behind Gaara was his two older siblings Temari and Kankuro. Kankuro wore a black, baggy, full bodysuit with a red and yellow circle on the front. He also wears a black hood which covered his head completely, and had cat-like ears and his forehead protector on his forehead. His outfit is derived from traditional bunraku puppeteer costumes. Bunraku puppeteers usually wear black outfits and hoods so as not to distract from their puppets. Kankuro sports a triangular face paint design. He also wears gloves and carries his puppets on his back. With Temari, it was hard for Naruto to not notice the young teenage girl's budding assets, which were visible beneath her black kimono. She was a few years older than him and he could see she was growing rather well. Her breasts were low C-cup, but since she was still young and yet out of puberty she was rather impressive. Her body was lithe and toned, letting him know she took care to keep herself in shape, with a narrow waist that tapered off into flared hips and strong-looking toned thighs. She was a nice combination of strength and feminine beauty. Her teal eyes and sandy blonde hair, which is gathered into 4 consecutive ponytails, only added to her beauty. You might want to stop staring at her like that because unless you have forgotten, you still have some explaining to do to your mate Anko, was it? And I don't think adding another mate willingly will be conducive to your argument, Kurama interrupting Naruto's thoughts. Just because I appreciate the female form doesn't mean I am trying to add her as a mate. Remember, I am still very much a teenager. Kurama just snorted at Naruto and went back to listening to his and Range's conversation. How is Gaara's relationship with his siblings? Not that good. They fear him but they love their brother very much, so they try to intervene whenever they can to try and keep him as sane as possible. Range explained to Naruto. I have enough information. I know today is the day you are supposed to check in with Reina. So go ahead and do that while I handle things here. Okay, Naruto-sama, I'll see you later. Range crawled out of Naruto's cloak and proceeded to disappear in a puff of smoke. For the next few hours Naruto watched Gaara and his siblings as he waited for an opportunity to approach Gaara without being caught by the sand Anbu. As the day came to an end, all the ninja in training went home except 3, Gaara and his siblings. Gaara was training with his sand in the training field while his siblings looked on. Hey, Gaara, I am going to take Kankuro with me so I can do some shopping for dinner tonight. We will be back in a few. Temari tried at every turn to better the 3 siblings' relationship even if she was scared of Gaara, but it was for naught as wasn't willing to meet them halfway. Naruto watched the 2 siblings leave and prepared to approach Gaara until 2 individuals wearing standard Sand Village ninja attire body flicker into the area. Seeing this, Naruto immediately knew they were up to no good after having felt their malice towards the auburn-haired teen. I'll let this play out before I step in. The sand ninja rushed towards Gaara, one of them running through hand seals calling out wind style. Air bullets. This technique shoots multiple bullets of air at the victim with intense speed. Gaara stood there unimpressed as his sand rose up to defend against the attack only to be dispersed for a split second, which was what they were aiming for, as with perfect timing the second assailant threw 2 seal tags. The tags might have been moving at incredible speeds to normal people, but in Naruto's eyes it looked as if walk alongside them, a demonic sealing tag and a conscience sealing tag. So they are trying to seal off Shukaku's influence and knock him out at the same time. When the sealing tags hit Gaara his body glowed a faint blue before he dropped like a sack of bricks. When that occurred the ninja pulled out short swords as they charged the downed Jinchuriki. Oh, no you don't, Naruto mentally screamed as he ripped off his cloak, deactivated his invisibility seal. He unsheathed Sieg's new form and disappeared in a lightning step only to reappear in front of Gaara's downed body. Naruto raised his left hand with his index finger extended, Way of Destruction number 4. Byakurai, as a concentrated bolt of lightning shot out of his finger piercing one of the sand ninja's heart, killing him instantly. The other ninja was still in pursuit, going for a diagonal slash with his short sword at Naruto, who casually blocked his attack with his sword in reverse grip. He then did a sweeping kick, taking the ninja off his feet. In a swift motion Naruto was standing above him with his pointer finger directly in his face. Way of Destruction number 4. Byakurai, another concentrated bolt of lightning shot the ninja right between the eyes, ending his life. Having dealt with the assailants, Naruto turned his attention to the unconscious Gaara, studying his momentary condition. These seals are mid-level at best, so he might be out for 2 hours at best, more than enough time to. Naruto's thoughts were cut off by 2 different voices. What the hell do you think you are doing to my brother? When Naruto turned around he saw Gaara's siblings standing across the field looking prepared to attack. To avoid any unnecessary attention created 2 seal-less shadow clones who body flickered behind the siblings with kunai held to their throats. Shish. I am not here to hurt your brother, the original Naruto pointing towards the 2 dead ninja. Those 2 over there were assassins probably sent here to kill Gaara. Until I killed them, that is. Temari and Kankuro looked at the 2 lifeless bodies. They had witnessed on occasion the assassination attempt on their brother's life, never having to get involved themselves as Gaara's protective sand always killed the assailants before they ever got to close. Well, what is it that you want with Gaara? Asked Kankuro. I want to help him. I have heard of Gaara's problems with Shukaku. Let's move this to a new location, and if I harm Gaara then you can kill me, how about that? Fine, answered Temari, who felt compelled to answer that way for a few reasons. The kunai at her neck. The fact it felt like this man was telling the truth, and if there was a possibility to help her brother, she wanted to take it. What, Temari, you can't seriously trust him? I never said I trust him. I just see an opportunity to help Gaara and plan on taking it. Which made Kankuro conflicted as he too wanted to help his brother but didn't know if he could trust blonde-haired man before him. How about this, we change locations and you watch me as I help Gaara, and if I harm Gaara in any way then you are there to stop me, deal? The 2 siblings looked at each other then looked at Naruto, deal. Naruto's clones removed the kunai from their neck while the original Naruto slung Gaara over his shoulder. The clones placed a hand on Kankuro and Temari's shoulder as they all disappeared in a whirlwind body flicker. Naruto's hotel. The group of ninja arrived in Naruto's hotel room via whirlwind body flicker. Kankuro and Temari stood back near a desk in the room with the 2 shadow clones still standing behind them while Naruto had stripped Gaara of his gourd and upper body's clothing. So, how do you plan on helping Gaara? asked Temari of Naruto while he narrowed his eyes at the pitiful seal holding Shukaku. Well, I fixed this shitty seal. I mean seriously, who uses a storage seal to contain a biju? The siblings wanted to defend Lady Chiho as she was the closest thing to a seal master they had, and she tried her best to put together an adequate seal, though her best wasn't good enough. Creating 2 more seal-less shadow clones, having one go over to the desk and start preparing his ink while the other sat Gaara up in the lotus position. The original Naruto started to strip himself of some of his gear and clothes, such as his arm guards, coat and shirt, leaving upper body bare naked. Naruto stood there looking like he had been chiseled out of marble with his perfect washboard six-pack. His whisker marks had only added to his handsome angular face, long sun-kissed blonde hair and sharp sapphire eyes. Kankuro and Temari had been watching him with completely different thoughts. I think I just came. I need a change of panties, with a blush on her face, while Kankuro, noticing his sister staring at Naruto, had one thought, pretty boy bastard. My sister has to be one of the most ice-cold women when it comes to the looks of men, and for her to have a reaction like that from her, dude has to have pussy chasing him down the street. Maybe that's why he wears that mask. Okay, you two, I'm going to enter Gaara's mindscape, so I need you to try and be as quiet as possible, as this requires my maximum concentration. Why do you need to enter his mindscape? Aren't you supposed to be fixing his seal? Asked Temari until her brother chimed in. What is a mindscape anyway? Temari just slapped her forehead at how stupid her brother was sometimes. A mindscape is a subconscious that everyone has, but is more advanced in the cases of Jinchuriki, as that is where the biju are generally held when they meet their jailer. How do you know all of that? Channeling a little chakra, Naruto's seal on his abs appeared. Because I happened to be one. They were both left speechless. They didn't know how to feel. Whether to be worried about their brother being killed for his biju, or to reassured that a Jinchuriki wouldn't harm one of their own. Naruto saw and felt their thoughts and emotions, but decided that instead of giving them meaningless words, that actions spoke louder. Climbing in the bed, Naruto sat across from Gaara in the same lotus position as Gaara. He placed a hand on top of Gaara's head. Activating his Rinnegan, Naruto dove into Gaara's mind. Gaara's mindscape looked like one of the smallest prisons Naruto had ever seen. Not that he had been in one, but small nonetheless. Hearing some mumbling going on, Naruto walks a few yards where he comes upon the 2 beings he needed to see, Gaara and Shukaku. The huge biju was on all fours, staring intently at Gaara, who was mumbling, "Yes, mother," repeatedly. Shukaku, step away from Gaara. Now, Naruto emphasized with his Rinnegan blazing while leaking killer intent. Naruto may want to help Shukaku as well as Gaara, but it pissed him off to see Shukaku mentally torturing the boy as he was. Who the hell or why? Father. The sight of the Rinnegan shocked the one-tailed beast, so much so his chakra flared and he roared out in pain, clutching his head. Naruto lightning stepped between Gaara and Shukaku and called out, "Almighty push," blasting Shukaku back with an invisible force a few dozen yards. "Gaara, are you okay?" Gaara stood there, hands on his head, whispering, "No, if I don't listen he will kill me. No one loves me. I am not worthy enough to call myself human. I am a demon," Gaara cried to himself. Shukaku has really done a number on his sanity, thought Naruto as calm him down, while the screams of Shukaku continued to scare the preteen. "Gaara, that's not true. Your brother and sister love you. Don't listen to Shukaku. You are not a demon." "What would you know? All they try to do is kill me." I know because I am the same," Naruto replied back, pointing towards the seal on his stomach. "We were the same?" "Yes, Gaara. We are the same." Naruto looked into Gaara's eyes and saw hope. Hope that someone who could understand him would finally be able to help him. Naruto placed a hand on his shoulder, getting Gaara to look him in the eye. "Gaara, you have people who love you." Gaara's eyes widened. The one time he thought he felt love, he was betrayed. "Who?" "Your brother and sister. They may fear what you contain, but they don't fear you, and they truly do love you." But father and mother said, "Forget what those assholes said. I am going to help you with Shukaku and you will have a family," Naruto said, surprising Gaara. The fact that someone was willing to go against the 2 most powerful beings he knew. "Why do you go so far for me? You don't even know me." "Because, my tailed beast has been my brother in all but blood, and he wants all his brothers and sisters to be safe. We Jinchuriki may not be blood-related, but we are all family." Naruto wrapped Gaara in a hug which broke the dam as Gaara started to bawl. Sensing Shukaku gearing up behind him, he spoke to Gaara once more, Sleep Gaara. Shukaku won't hurt you, I'll make sure of it. Hi, Ni-san. With that he fell asleep in Naruto's arms. Laying Gaara down so he could get the rest he deserved. Naruto then stood before Shukaku. Ha 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 ha. Shukaku was laughing like a maniac as his chakra fluctuated. Naruto watching this saw something weird. Shukaku had 3 different chakra signatures, his own as well as 2 foreign. Maybe that's what's driving him crazy. Well, it's my best theory right now, so let's remove those chakras and see what happens. Jumping into Shukaku's face, Naruto fire another invisible force, knocking Shukao on his back. All Might push, landing on Shukaku's chest. The Rinnegan wielder and tailed beast were eye to eye. Naruto used his Rinnegan to subdue the beast enough to where he wasn't moving. Stretching his hands out toward Shukaku, his hands emitted a faint blue while his eye glowed a deep metallic purple. Human path. Absorption soul technique. Touching his hands to Shukaku before throwing them to the side, ripping what had been affecting him out of his body. When Naruto had finished, he had 2 orbs, a green and purple. The purple had felt sort of sinister while he felt a calming nature about the green one. Hey, wake up. Naruto was waving his hand and snapping his fingers trying to get the tailed beast to wake up. Shukaku sat up, which made Naruto jump to the side so he wouldn't fall off. As Shukaku sat up, a realization hit him. It's gone. It's finally gone. Yahoo! The tailed beast started dancing to himself, completely ignoring the fact that Naruto was still standing there. I told you my brother was crazy. You did, but I didn't think you meant retarded. Oi, Shukaku. I believe I have some questions for you, Naruto stated, bringing Shukaku out of happy dance. Father? No. How do you have father's eyes, you puny human? It's called a bloodline, but that enough about my eyes. What are these that ripped out of you? Gestured Naruto by holding up the 2 orbs. They are chakra consciences. The purple one belonged to Bunpuku, my first Jinchuriki, Shukaku spat out. And the green one belongs to Kurora, the child's mother. How did they end up inside you though? Well, Bunpuku had been locked in a prison cell for being a Jinchuriki and it drove him crazy. So to get revenge he decided to seal a part of himself in me to drive me crazy, therefore getting a little revenge on the sand and Kurora meant for that merge with Gaara. A way to protect him even in death. Hearing the explanation, Naruto walked over to Gaara and put the orb onto his chest, where it then sunk in and Gaara's body glowed a dim green before fading. Now your true mother is with you. Naruto then crushed the purple orb in his hand, destroying it. Now since there is nothing driving you crazy anymore, will you leave Gaara alone now? Hell no. This place is worse than any prison. It alone is enough to drive me crazy. Until my suffering is over, his will continue. I can't let you do that. I can fix the seal to a point where it would be just as good as the outside world. Would that be enough to calm you down? If it is that good, then I'll leave the child alone. Okay. I am going to release the seal. When that happens, make sure you stay contained in his body. If you don't, he will die, and if he dies, I am coming for you, Naruto said darkly, to which Shukaku nodded vigorously as Naruto's form disappeared. Back in Naruto's hotel room, Naruto had come out of his trance only after a few minutes had passed. Getting up, he walked over to the desk and grabbed his sealing supplies before laying Gaara on his back. Naruto and a clone he had prepped began their operation. The clone ran through a few hand seals shouting, Kai, which destroyed the seal on Gaara's abdomen. Then the original started drawing complex symbols with not only precision and grace but also speed. He finished his strokes in a matter of seconds and flew through hand seals, 4 symbols seal. When he did that, the dim chakra around Gaara disappeared. There, this new seal will prevent Shukaku from having any control over Gaara and allow him peace of mind, Naruto said, walking over to where his clothes were and putting them back on, much to Temari's displeasure, though she had more things to worry about. Now you two have some work to do. Gaara was mentally scared by Shukaku. So from now on you need to show Gaara your affection for him, Naruto explained to them, but they seemed a little reluctant due to the fear Gaara had instilled in them. Listen, I can read you like an open book and see you are still scared of him, but know this: Gaara loves you too and had no choice but to do the things he did due to Shukaku forcing him. The two listened until Kankuro spoke up. How do we know the One Tails doesn't want to kill us still? Shukaku isn't really to blame, as not only that seal would be enough to drive anyone crazy, but there were 2 chakra consciences sealed inside of him which really drove him off the deep end. One of them being Bunpuku. This made their eyes widen. They had heard stories of how during his imprisonment he had lost his sanity. There was also your mother Karora's chakra. She left a part of herself with Gaara to always protect him. That's part of Gaara's defensive sand comes from, Naruto said, watching this revelation sink in. So with your mother protecting Hai, do you believe you have any reason to fear your brother even with Shukaku still inside him? No. Mother would never allow anything to happen to us, said Temari as she hesitantly reached her hand towards Gaara's head to stroke his hair. When her hand made contact she smiled at the thought of finally being able to be a good older sister to him. This action woke Gaara up, which made Temari flinch as she didn't know what his reaction would be. Gaara sat up in bed seeing his siblings and a man who had saved his sanity standing around him. Naruto was the first to speak. How do you feel? Fine. Actually more than fine. The voice is finally gone. You helped me when no one else could or would, and for that I thank you, Ni-san. Temari and Kankuro were flabbergasted at the familiarity Gaara was showing someone he just met. No need for that, as I already told you, we Jinchuriki are family in all, but blood and family always help each other. Naruto finished by patting Gaara's shoulder. During their moment, the blonde noticed the guilty looks on the siblings' faces from his words, but before Naruto could say anything Gaara addressed them, Temari ne-san. Kankuro, I want to apologize for how I have treated you and I want to change that. I want us to a real family. If you can forgive me for the things that I have done. Temari leapt at her brother, hugging him into her breasts while Kankuro moved to pat his little brother on his head. That's a good thing you have done for them. I am just glad that I was able to help him before any permanent damage to his psyche was done. Now he can have what we all strive for. Finishing his mental conversation with Kurama, Naruto noticed how tired Gaara was and that the demonic suppression seal was wearing off as his sand was starting to react over in the corner. Why don't you get Gaara home so he can actually rest? Naruto told to Temari, who turned her head to him and nodded her head in agreement. Naruto saw that probably had a few questions for him and spoke up again. Go home and get some rest and I'll meet you tomorrow so we can talk. Gaara got dressed and left with his siblings. When the three of them left, a plume of smoke emitted from the center of the room. When it cleared, it was revealed to be Range. Back already? Yes, and I have a message for you from Jigen-sama. He wants you to visit before you go back to the Leaf. He says you have some things to talk about. No problem. I was planning to anyway. Well, I am kind of tired. Are you going to be staying with me, Range? No, I am going to inform Jigen-sama of your intentions and then do some more scouting. But thank you for your offer. Have a nice night, Naruto-sama. With that, Range disappeared in a poof of. It was 7 a.m. and Naruto had just finished his reduced morning routine and was now meditating in his room until Kurama chimed in. How long are we going to be in this village, Naruto? Not much longer. In fact, after I meet with Gaara we will be leaving today. Which I need to be leaving for now. Naruto spoke to Kurama through their mental link as he had all of his things from his clothes to his gear. After he double-checked, he went down to the lobby and paid for his room for his stay there, which came to 179,182 yen. Naruto paid in cash and left via body flicker. Arriving atop the Sand Village Academy's roof moments later, where he then spots a familiar mop of auburn hair sitting under a tree by himself. Checking the area, he makes sure that there is no one around before approaching. How are you feeling? Naruto asked the Jinchuriki, whose head wheeled around to see Naruto standing next to him with his arms crossed. Ni-san? If that's what you want to call me, but I would prefer for you to call me by my name, Naruto said, smiling from underneath his face mask. Come to think of it, I didn't get your name, Gaara stated as he thought back. I'll give it to you on the condition you don't tell anyone about me outside of your siblings and hold them to that promise as well, deal? To which Gaara nodded. My name is Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. Gaara's eyes widened at the double last name. They were two of the most feared clans throughout the elemental nations. It wasn't the fact that he was from those clans, it was the fact that they were thought to both be extinct. Why don't you skip the academy and go get some breakfast with me, my treat? Naruto asked Gaara, who agreed with no hesitation. Naruto placed his hand on Gaara's shoulder, which surprised Gaara as his sand didn't react as it usually did, attacking anyone who tried to touch him. They both disappeared in a whirlwind body flicker. Moments later, the two of them appeared in the shopping district. So, what do you want to eat? The blonde asked his fellow Jinchuriki. Doesn't really matter. I'll eat anything. No, that's not what I asked you. I asked what you want to eat. Naruto emphasized by crossing his arms. Gaara, seeing he was going to be pushy about this, pointed to a small cafe. When Naruto saw it, they walked into the cafe. Welcome, how man? The middle-aged waitress was cut off when she noticed Gaara, and Naruto, seeing this, made sure that this wasn't going to be a problem. "Excuse me, but he is with me and I hope you don't have a problem with that and treat him as you would any customer," the blonde said with narrowed eyes to which she tried to cover her tracks. "No. I was just surprised to see one the cage's children here is all. Let me show you to your seats," she said while grabbing 2 menus before directing them towards a table. "Anything to drink while you think of your orders?" "I'll have tea, me too. I'll be back with your tea and to take your orders in a minute." The aged woman walks away while Naruto and Gaara look over their menus. When she returns a few minutes later, she comes with a pot of hot green tea that she sets down in the middle of the table after filling up 2 cups. "Are you two ready to order now?" "Yes. Gaara, you go first," the blonde gestured to Gaara. I'll have miso soup, a side of rice and the grilled salmon." "I'll have the same," Naruto ordered before handing the waitress his menu and Gaara doing the same. Once she was gone, Naruto looked at Gaara. "I know there are some things that you wanted to ask me, I'm all ears." "Well, I'll vaguely remember you saying, my mother would always be with me. What did you mean by that?" Well, it seems your mother, in a last-ditch effort to always be able to protect you, left a part of herself in the form of your sand, but because of that faulty seal her gift ended up in Shukaku, but I corrected it and it is now in your sole possession." This shocked Gaara. For years he has had to listen to his father and other tell him no one loved him, so to find out his mother loved him so much she wanted to protect him, even in death. Naruto saw and felt the multitude of emotions running through Gaara's mind. "I know exactly how you feel right now. There are a lot of things I want to talk to you about but not here, so let's move somewhere private after our meal," Naruto said as he pointed towards the oncoming waitress, to which Gaara just nodded as the two prepared to eat their food. After 15 minutes of silent eating, Naruto waved over the waitress and asked for the check, which she brought over a bill of 4,000 yen, to which Naruto paid and left a 500 yen tip before he and Gaara left the restaurant. A few minutes later, Naruto and Gaara had arrived back atop the academy roof, which Naruto viewed as the safest place away from prying eyes and ears. "Now Gaara, I want you to let this sink in. You have those that care for you. Your brother and sister both care for you. Your mother loved you more than she did her own life, so don't let anyone tell you any different. I don't care who they are," spoke Naruto as he looked Gaara directly in the eye, watching his words sink in. Walking a little closer to him, Naruto put his hand on his shoulder. "I know it can be hard to believe after everything your father and this village has put you through, but remember your mother will always be in here," said the blonde as he poked Gaara in the heart, and there, referring to Gaara's sand. "And let's not forget me. Even if the whole world turns against you, I will still be your friend and brother." "I still don't get it. How can you or anyone else care this much?" "That's a question that can't be answered in words. All I can do is tell you to keep open mind and allow your family to show the answer." "Ni-san, I have an off-topic question. I feel that you didn't come here for the sole reason of helping me." Naruto looked surprised yet amused that he see a secondary motive. "You are right, and you aren't the only reason I came. I came to not only help you with your situation but to prevent, but to the sand wasn't a threat to me." "Why would they be a threat to you?" "That's something I'll go into details with you later, but I simply just need to know who my enemies are." Gaara understood what Naruto was trying to say. Keep my friends close and my enemies closer, huh? "So, what do you plan on doing now, Ni-san?" "Well, I'm preparing to leave. I have prior engagements and needed to make sure we talked before my departure." Naruto turned around to look over the edge of the roof. "Remember what I said, keep your mind open and ignore everything your father says." Naruto channeled a little chakra, preparing to leave until a last thought hit him. "Oh. And try to find some kind of mutual ground with Shukaku. Believe me, a bond with your tailed beast is a truly special one, so think about it." Gaara just nodded as Naruto disappeared in a whirlwind body flicker. Moments later, Naruto appeared in a back alleyway in a gust of wind. Using his senses to check the area of any unwanted guests, Naruto unsheathes his sword and holds it straight out in front of him as a purple portal appeared, and as he walked through, both he and the portal disappeared. Dragon Realm. Naruto just walked out of the portal as it disappeared behind him while putting Sieg back in his sheath. Looking around, drinking in the place that's been his home for years, high up in the mountains, overlooking a large lake and city made of marble and stone with dragons gracing the sky, home sweet home. Naruto disappeared in a yellow flash via his Flying Thunder God Jutsu, and appeared in his room. Once he arrived at his room, he saw no one was there until he noticed the Chinese water dragon Bis flying straight at him. "Naruto-sama!" The water dragon screamed as he plowed into Naruto's chest. He missed you too," chuckled Naruto as the dragon wrapped himself around Naruto's neck. What are you doing here, Naruto-sama? I thought you were in the Mist Village. I was, but I hit a little snag in the road, so I have a little free time and heard Jigen wanted to talk to me. Oh, would you like for me to inform him of your being here? No, but you can tell me where Nei-chan is. She's out tending to your garden. Do you want me to go and get her? Yes, I want to talk to her after a shower, so if you would let her know I am here I would appreciate it, the blonde told the dragon, who followed his request and flew out the open window in search of Yoruichi. While Bis was informing Yoruichi of his return, Naruto had gone into his closet and gotten some fresh clothes to change into after his shower. Hopping in the shower under the warm water, cleansing himself of the sand that had gotten in places he didn't even think possible, then moving on to watching his hair, which was caked full of it. It took him almost 15 minutes to get all that sand out of his hair. After having finished his shower and changed into his clothes that consisted of a pair of boxers and a pair of athletic shorts, leaving his upper body bare, as he went to grab the blow dryer he sensed Yoruichi right outside the door of the bathroom. Come in. When the door opened, it revealed Yoruichi in one of her practiced shape-shifting forms she liked to call Rei, the green-haired beauty dressed in a beautiful red dress which clung to her body just the right way. Want to help me dry my hair like usual, Nei-chan? Naruto asked of the woman, who Naruto had noticed she had a range of thoughts going through her head, more than likely concerning what he recently found out, and because of that the air was kind of thick while she was combing through the ends of his hair with the blow dryer. Having had enough of seeing her scared of what he might say, Naruto spoke up as he looked her directly in the eye through the mirror in front of him. You know I'm not mad at you, right, Yoruichi? It amused him as he watched her go wide-eyed. So, you really did go to Whirlpool? The newly dubbed Yoruichi asked rhetorically. So I'm assuming you came for answers? She asked Naruto while going back to drying his golden blonde locks. Yeah, there are things my father left out for you and Jigen to answer. Can I ask you question first, before we get into that? Sure, go right ahead. Why exactly aren't you mad at me? I mean, I know how much you hate being lied to, so why exactly aren't you angry? Sigh. I was, at first. The thought of you only acting and not truly caring for me upset me, but I decided to hear you out before casting any aspersions. It touched her heart to hear that. He had a right to be downright pissed, but he wasn't and was being understanding. I want to be completely honest with you, Naruto-kun. At first, when I agreed, it was out of obligation to Minato-sama and Kushina-sama. They had saved my life and I figured that you would always only see me as a sister, said Yoruichi to Naruto, who was listening intently but decided to interrupt. Why would you feel an obligation to give your future away? I'm sure my parents would have understood if you didn't want to marry me. I know that, it's just when I was just a year old, I was kidnapped by Cloud Ninja, whose intent was to transfer the two-tailed cat into me and turn me into their new weapon. We had gotten all the way to a base in the Land of Lightning and the ceremony was being prepared against the previous Jinchuriki's wool. They were actually going to rip the tailed beast out of her and reseal it in me, but Minato-sama and Kushina-sama killed everyone before they could start the process. Before they could leave with me, she asked that they seal her inside me anyway and take Matabi away from the Cloud Village so she wouldn't be abused anymore. Naruto listened with his head down and wide eyes. When he felt her hand stop combing the blow dryer through his hair, he turned around to see her form was gone, and standing there was the true Yoruichi. Gone was her creamy white skin, replaced with beautiful chocolate ebony skin. Her hair was slightly longer and a deep purple flowing down her back. Her eyes were now a beautiful gold. Her breasts had grown from high C cups to mid D cups. Her hips had spread out, only adding to her curves. Her body all in all was sexily toned, and Naruto was able to see it all as she had stripped herself of the dress and wore only a black thong and bra. Blood was rushing to certain part of his body that he did not want woken up. He was trying to listen to her seriously, but she was making it difficult by standing there damn near naked and looking sexier than anything had seen to date. He couldn't help but whisper, "Beautiful," low enough to where she couldn't hear. Yoruichi channeled a little chakra to reveal an exact copy of the 8 trigram seal on her toned abs. Hey, Kurama, did you know about this? No, I had my suspicions, but I am just as shocked as you. Though I had originally agreed because of Minato-sama and Kushina-sama, that's not the case anymore. I don't want to be an older sister. I want to be a wife, your wife. Hearing her pour her heart out, Naruto stood up from the stool, looking down at her as he was a few inches taller than her. A few stray tears escaped her golden eyes as she thought about the abuse he had to go through because of them lying him. Naruto took a couple of steps until he was in front of her and placed his hands on both sides of her faces, wiping the tears away with his thumb. Yoruichi. I have already told you I wasn't angry, so why cry? Because I feel as if I sat back and watched you be abused and now here I am selfishly asking to be your wife, she told him as the tears continued to fall. Naruto tilted her head up so that she was looking him in the eye. I want you to listen to me, Yoruichi. What I went through was hell, but it necessary. Had I not gone through what I did, there is a high chance that I wouldn't have half the skills that I have now, as well as gave the leaf a good opportunity to control me mentally and physically. I would rather be abused than be forced to be ignorant. Besides, I wouldn't be the man that I am today if it wasn't for those experiences, and I think you will agree that I turned out great, right? This earned a small smile from the ebony-skinned woman. And you are a little selfish. But what's wrong with that? When at any point you can lose your life, why tiptoe around what it is you truly want? You want me. You can have me. You already know you are going to have to share, right? Yeah, I already know the pecking order, she said, smiling up at him as he was still holding her face. Pecking order? Yoruichi, I may be new to this dating, marriage thing, but I don't want any of the women I end up dating or marrying believing that anyone has a higher standing than anyone else. I don't want anyone to feel inferior over insignificant things. I want to have a truly happy family without any resentments towards one another, but in order for that to happen I need help and understanding. Yoruichi couldn't help but smile. Barely a teenager and already a playboy. Whatever you say, so long as I get to be with you. I don't really care, Yoruichi said as she moved in and hugged him around his torso, pushing all of her assets into him, getting a lower body reaction that she wasn't expecting. Oh my god. He is so big. He's not even done growing yet. She couldn't help but try to create a flow and leaned up to try and kiss him until he stopped her, which confused her as she thought they were together now. As much as I would love to kiss you, or hell, just bend you over the counter and destroy you, I can't. I feel like I would be betraying Anko by doing anything physical with anyone before she was to get an proper explanation directly from me. Naruto told her with an certain amount of lust, and he also looked almost saddened by having to deny Yoruichi of something that she really wanted. Don't worry, I understand. That compassion of yours is one of the qualities that made me fall for you in the first place. So I can respect that, so long as you promise not to keep me waiting too long. Naruto nodded his head, which earned him a kiss on the cheek. Now are you hiding anything else from me that I should know about? Naruto asked as he released himself from her hold and went back to sitting in the stool in front of the mirror. No, but Jigen-sama has some things to tell you. Alright. Since we have cleared the air, why don't you put on some clothes and help me finish drying my hair? Yoruichi smirked at him and pushed her breasts into his back and wrapped her arms around his neck. Oh. Does my not-so-little Naru-kun lack self-control? Yor-chan. I don't think you want to play this game. I have plenty of self-control, but from the scent coming from you I don't think the same can be said, Naruto said in an amused tone, to which she blushed from his accurate statement. Now put on some clothes and finish drying my hair, alright? She nodded at him as he kissed her forehead, enticing a smile from her as she exited the room, only to return 2 minutes later wearing a black, backless, sleeveless undershirt, an orange overshirt with 2 white straps on each shoulder, a large beige sash around her waist, and black stretch pants with a pair of lightweight brown shoes, which allow for stealth. She also wore long beige wrist and leg warmers, each secured by bands. Her hair was done into a high ponytail. After the next few minutes of Yoruichi drying his hair, Naruto went into his closet to change into a fresh pair of his usual attire. Long black cargo pants tucked into black combat boots, his utility belt with siege hanging from a short chain on his left hip, his muscle shirt complete with face mask, though he opted to keep it pulled down, black long-sleeved leather coat and black armguards. Yoruichi watched him as he walked out of the closet, her eyes roaming his body, thinking about how much he has grown into it. He has a body that any man would kill to have and any woman would kill to be with, and he still has quite a bit of growing to do, she thought to herself, until Naruto called back to her over his shoulder, enjoying the view, Yor-chan, making her smile back at him. Well, a certain someone isn't allowing me to touch, so looking is all I have left. This earned a small chuckle from Naruto before he walked up to her and whispered huskily into her ear, well, keep enjoying the view, but I try to make sure you don't have to wait too long, causing her knees to buckle slightly as she thought about all the things she would do to Naruto when he finally allow her to cut loose. Before things got carried away, Bis came flying in from the window and landed on Naruto's shoulder. Naruto-sama, Jigen-sama is ready to see you. Alright. Let's go, Yoruichi-chan, said Naruto as he held the door open for her to walk through, which she giggled at as she walked through. As they walked down the large hallway, Naruto decided to ask Yoruichi something. Yoruichi, I have a question for you? Okay, shoot? Have you had any contact with the others who are involved in all this? She turned her head towards him with a smile on her face before answering. Took you long enough. I have been waiting on you to ask that money question since you got here. Yeah. We have all remained in constant contact more or less since your birth. Yoruichi told him, giving him the opening to ask her about the things he is really curious about. I'm going to assume you have an at least cordial relationship with them, Naruto asked rhetorically, though she nodded anyway. So, what I want to ask is, how do my other fiancés feel about the whole marriage thing? Yoruichi looked up at the ceiling as they continued to walk through the hallways and tapped her finger on her chin. Well, each one has their own issues, but let's start with least problematic and work our way up, to which Naruto nodded. Now I have more than a cordial relationship with your fiancés, they are my sisters, but let's start with Karasuba Ichimaru. You'll have no problems out of her as she has been waiting on you since day one, but I will tell you her circumstances. Karasuba is rare. She was born with an abnormally potent killer intent that would have made her a target of the leaf, but it was almost uncontrollable. So she was looked after by Takeda Shingen and his wife for a few years, training under his samurai and her father periodically until she could control her killing intent. Over those years she trained herself to master two things: kenjutsu and silent kill techniques, skills that she prides herself on. But even with all her training, she needed help controlling her family's killing intent, so a seal was placed on her that helped her gain control of her need for battle and evened her out slightly, but the side effect is that she must find her chosen partner before she turns 21, otherwise her chakra can go haywire and kill her from the inside out. When you say she has to find her chosen partner, do they get to choose, or does the seal force the action, and if so, how do any of you know that I am their chosen partner? Naruto asked the dark-skinned beauty walking next to him. No, what it does is enhances that sixth sense that attract people together on a deeper level. As for how we know it's you, Karasuba had a pretty strong reaction to you as you passed by her unknowingly, to the point that she had to be restrained by her father while she visited the village with Madame Shingen before she started traveling. Traveling? Naruto asked, confused, as he thought she was still with his godparents. Yes. Karasuba and myself couldn't be allowed to stay in the village as we would have placed ourselves in more danger than we could have gotten ourselves out of. With only what's left of the Haruno clan and Jin Ichimaru to defend us, we would have been subjugated to one of two things: produce heirs to restart our clans, or death. This pissed Naruto off because he knew of only one man capable of such things, Danzo. Karasuba, until recently taken in by a friend of Jin's who comes from the Land of Snow to teach her about their advanced technology back in the Land of Snow, which she did until about a year ago. Having mastered everything he had to teach, she decided to travel until you were ready for her return. In the meantime, she has found friends she wants to help. She hasn't told me who these friends are, but I trust her judgment. Now we have Tsunade Senju, same as Karasuba. You'll have no real problems out of her, but for different reasons. Naruto's ears perked up at the mention of Tsunade, as she was the one he wondered about most. I can see the questions you have about in your eyes and can tell you that any public information on her is more than likely a fabrication, Yoruichi pointed out as Naruto raised his one visible eyebrow at her. You probably have the basic information on her, that during the Second Great Ninja War her brother and fiancé were killed, effectively disheartening her from staying in the village, correct? From the tone you just took, I am assuming that none of that is true, Naruto replied back to her as they rounded a corner. Exactly. You see, during that time is when Danzo first started making his strategical moves. The first being killing the last male heir to the Senju clan after he had come across the marriage contract between the Uzumaki and the Senju in order to limit Kushina-sama's connection to the Senju and increase his chances of turning her into a weapon after she was to arrive and become the new Kyuubi Jinchuriki. Naruto amazingly kept him power and temper under control despite it seeming like his disdain for the Leaf Village and Danzo in particular. Then a few months later, Kato, Tsunade's fiancé, was killed during a mission, which was made to look like a foreign ninja did it, but the whole fiancé thing was a ruse. They were never even dating. They were both tired of being hounded by shallow members of opposite sex, Dan for his prodigy-like skills and Tsunade for her rising legend and clan status. After hitting their breaking point, they came up with the idea of pretending to be fiancés, until one or both of them found someone. Naruto felt a little relieved that Tsunade wanted to give him a shot for unknown reasons, but saddened that Tsunade had to lose her best friend because that madman Danzo. Around that time was when a few surviving members from Whirlpool were having a group training session when they came across a meeting Danzo was holding where we learned of their plans of killing off the Namikaze, Haruno and Senju clans. If they knew of the plans to eradicate them, then why not leave? Naruto asked. Because if they did, they would have been hunted down by multiple villages, and it was only a few short weeks later when Jigen contacted your mother and father to tell them of the prophecy, which you know of. But after that was when your mother and father brought up this to Tsunade after discovering the marriage contract and asked her to be your fiancé. At first she said no to being your fiancé but really wanted to see those responsible burn in hell. But after Kushina-sama begged her, which she could never refuse, being the little sister she never had and your father promising her to find a solution to your age difference, she finally agreed to give it a chance. A few years later she left the village to stay out of danger as Danzo started targeting her. By the end, Naruto had let go of the worries he had about Tsunade. The last couple are going to be your most problematic, so let's start with Yugo Azuki. Now your problem won't stem from her not wanting to as she does, but from what I guess you can call a bloodline, the Azuki clan. When it comes to their female members, when finding that life partner, they need that person to be able to beat them into submission. Is that really necessary? Naruto asked, not liking the fact of having to hurt her in order to marry her. Yes. Either you challenge her or she comes out with the intent to kill anyway, but the good thing is once you beat her you will be hard-pressed to find someone who will be more loyal. I'm assuming the last two are Sakura Haruno plus there is her adopted sister as a possibility, stated Naruto after having accepted the situations that lay before him. Yeah, and the most complicated out of everyone is although Sakura is not aware of anything, she doesn't know of any of the plans or history. Yoruichi started before Naruto interrupted. Why haven't they been informed of this? I was getting to that, Yoruichi with a slight glare that said, don't interrupt me again. Let me give you a little history on her sister first. Rias Uzumaki was found in her dying mother's arms by Minato-sama and Mebuki on their way back from a diplomatic mission. Rias' parents were survivors that laid low until they could make the trip to the Leaf and find some allies, but they were attacked by Root Ninja. Her father tried to buy time for Rias' mother to get away with her. He perished as the numbers game caught up to him. The few that caught up with Rias and her mother died at her mother's hands, though she was fatally wounded. When they found her she didn't have much longer to live, so she asked if they could take care of her child. From there Mebuki adopted her and Minato-sama placed an advanced transformation seal on her to keep her hidden. Rias and Sakura have always been smart children. They have the goal to become one of the if not the greatest kunoichi of all time, which their mother has done all to help but pound the books into both of her children's head, and Rias and Sakura have the potential to achieve their dreams, especially after we solved their confidence issues. Which was an issue holding them back. Sakura more so than Rias, but when they first started their training while getting picked on by the other kids didn't help, but eventually they grew out of their shells and started fighting back until they left the sisters alone and later on they ignored them. Naruto listened on and liked hearing that with a little push they were able to finally stand up for themselves as he found strong women to be a turn-on. But about 9 months ago Mebuki Haruno asked me to be there with her as we let Sakura and Rias in on everything from their clan's origins to the Leaf's betrayal and also their engagement, but something was off with Sakura. She had changed completely, shirking her training for beauty tips. Starving herself in the name of dieting and throwing her very own goals to the side in favor of someone else's, which seemed too far-fetched to be a coincidence, and she started mistreating Rias. So we held off on telling her while I did a little investigating, and doing so I found that someone has placed multiple reinforced loyalty seals, multiple reinforced growth stunting seals and multiple reinforced love seals. The Leaf was making it hard for Naruto to not to just outright wipe them off the face of the earth. Why haven't you had them removed yet then? Naruto asked in a restrained voice. Because these seals are around level 7 and I am only a level 5, and asking Jigen to go to the Leaf is out of the question, as the seals Mito Uzumaki-sama provided them would alert his presence the moment he got within 100 yards of the village. So we are left with no choice but for you to do it. We moved Rias in with Karasuba's father for her protection from Danzo. The only things is how much damage these seals have done to Sakura's mind and body, Yoruichi told Naruto, worry evident in her voice. Naruto wrapped one arm around her shoulder before speaking. Don't worry too much, Yoruichi-chan. If the seal has had to be reinforced that many times, then it means her mind is fighting back, and not having been a full year it hasn't had enough time to do any permanent damage. Don't stress yourself, I promise both Sakura and Rias. We'll be just fine, and the leaf before it's all said and done will pay for their transgressions against all of our clans." The ebony-skinned beauty felt relieved at the blonde's words of comfort and leaned more into his embrace as they arrived at their destination, but before going in she kissed him on his cheek and whispered a "thank you" to him as she pushed the large stone doors open to see large Master Dragon in his humanoid form sitting upon one of 5 thrones. "Ah, young master. I hope your time away from us proved to be useful," the Master Dragon told Naruto as Yoruichi closed the doors behind them. "Yeah, it has proven to be. I have mostly solved the problems in the Mist Village except for the Yagura problem, but that shouldn't be too much a problem for too much longer as Galen seems to be fairly close to finding him, and I managed to help Gaara the Jinchuriki to the one-tailed raccoon dog, Shukaku." "That's really good to hear, young master. Now I know you may be a little upset with me, Jigen started but was cut off by Naruto. "I'm not that angry. I may not like the fact that all that information was withheld from me, but I am not angry. I am relieved to hear that, but I can't say you won't be perturbed in a separate decision made years ago," Jigen told Naruto, who was looking the Master Dragon directly in the eyes with his one visible eye, saying nothing as sign for Jigen to continue. "This goes back a few decades when the toads and snakes were having an all-out war. The toads are pretty good friends of ours, but we were busy constructing Sieg, so we were going to let them handle it until we got wind of a new breed of snake and a powerful new poison that they contained. That's when we intervened." Naruto listened intently, having questions but opted to let him finish before asking them. "Now I am sure that you have noticed that we dragons are of all the basic elements except earth?" Jigen asked Naruto, who gave a single nod and remembered noticing it but never thought to ask about it. "The reason for that is our earth dragons and their leader Kalawarner, who was closer to the toads than the rest of us, wanted to handle this personally, and she felt Sieg's construction took priority over the situation at hand and proposed the idea to let her and the rest of the earth dragons take care of the snakes, which she accomplished but with a heavy price." Naruto could hear the grief in Jigen's voice, but in the back of his head he was thinking about that name Kalawarner. He knew he has heard it somewhere before but couldn't remember where exactly. "The poison that these new snakes had was powerful enough to even affect us. It was deadly to the lower-level dragons, and to master-level dragons it severely reduced our lifespan and prevented us from reproducing. In the end we wiped out their new breed completely, but with a heavy price. Quite a few of the toads had lost their lives, and we had lost all of our earth dragon brethren except for Kalawarner, but she had also gotten hit with the poison, and those side effects took a toll on her and prevented her from contributing to Sieg's construction." Naruto winced inwardly as he really didn't like hearing about the amount of sacrifice that those he considered family had to endure. "Then around a few months before your birth, Kalawarner managed to sneak up on me during one of my visions. That day we found out that if I am touched while having a vision, then the one who touched me can see what I see as well. It just so happens that I was having a vision about some of the things you would go through that most wouldn't be able to stand seeing, and that upset Kalawarner to great lengths. She was in tears, and her feeling like she hadn't helped at all in the preparations only made her feel worse. She had cried the entire day, and nothing anyone said calmed her down, so we left her alone until the next day, where she came to tell us about a decision she had come to. Kalawarner had decided to break a law and use a forbidden technique called reincarnation cycle." Naruto was feeling like his hole of debt was getting deeper and deeper, though at the same time he was wondering if this technique was anything like the name suggested. "Our technique, the reincarnation cycle, allows master-level dragons to give up their power in order to reincarnate themselves as human and one other soul." The blonde's one visible eye showed its surprise before he asked Jigen a question. "Why is this technique forbidden?" Long story short, as a few hundred years ago one of our dragon brethren felt he should be our master and we should bow down to him, but when he was denied he used the technique and fled with our summoning scroll. But he was dealt with, and we made the technique forbidden as to not have another situation like that. I guess even these pure-hearted dragons can be corrupted, Naruto thought as Jigen continued. When she told us what she wanted to do, we thought she had lost her mind after seeing that vision and reminded her the consequences, but in her words she wanted to give you something as she couldn't do anything else because of the poison. As Naruto listened while having an odd feeling in the pit of his stomach, and Yoruichi was waiting for his reaction. Kalawarner decided to reincarnate a special individual, and Kushina Uzumaki. When Jigen spoke his mother's name, you could hear a fly land on the wall. Naruto was in a state of shock, his entire face now being shadowed by his bangs as a million thoughts ran through his mind, but he only voiced one, but it was too low for anyone to hear it. "What was that, young master?" Jigen asked before the entire room was blasted with wind laced with killer intent coming from Naruto as his hair was blown with the wind revealing his glowing Rinnegan eyes. "Where is she?" the blonde screamed out while Yoruichi was struggling to keep her balance and Jigen put up a strong front but wasn't faring too much better than Yoruichi. "Calm down young master. Look what you are doing to Yoruichi," Jigen said, snapping Naruto out of his anger, causing the killer intent-laced wind to die down and his eyes to return to their normal sapphire blue. Naruto walked over to Yoruichi who had gone down to one knee and helped her up before apologizing. "I am sorry Yoruichi-chan. I don't know what came over me, are you alright?" After catching her breath she answered him, "I am fine Naru-kun. Most people would react like you just did if they found out what you just did. But why not let Jigen finish before reacting like that again?" Yoruichi told him with a playful smirk that Naruto couldn't help but return as H nodded and turned to Jigen to let him finish. "Young master, I apologize if our actions may have upset you and know you may be upset with the fact that your mother wasn't in your life even though she was alive, but we didn't even know where she was until about a week ago," the Dragon Master told Naruto, which made him feel worse about his outburst. "Our technique, the reincarnation cycle, is not like that poor excuse for a just you the impure world reincarnation which turns the person brought back into a semi-living puppet. Our technique hives the soul a completely new remade body to limbo. Their age is reversed to that of a 5-year while their appearance and abilities are completely altered until their soul has fully bonded with their new body, and usually it takes time for them to become fully bonded with the new body, which takes about 10 to 15 years depending on their level of strength. After the soul has been bonded they regain their appearance, abilities and their memories with a slight boosts to their physical attributes," Jigen finished, waiting for the bombardment of questions soon to follow. "I have a few questions that I hope you won't mind answering," Naruto asked, to which Jigen just nodded once. "You said they regain their memories after their soul fully bonds. Does that mean they remember nothing of their previous life?" "It's a little more complicated than that. They have a grasp of who they are just not able to remember anything of their previous life, like someone with amnesia." "How did you find out where she was?" "As the soul gets closer to bonding with the new body, there are frequent chakra pulses that occur and she seems to be very close to coming back as the pulses are strong and repetitive," the Master Dragon answered Naruto's question before they got ready to ask the money question. "Who and where is my mother?" he stated with finality. If they lied to him there was no telling what he would do. No longer going to beat around the bush, Jigen just answered the question as flatly as he could. "Your mother is in the village hidden in the mist and she goes by the name Mei Terumi." Naruto stood there frozen at the revelation that his mother was someone he was going to be with in the near future and had flirted with countless times on numerous occasions. Yoruichi was the first to speak, seeing as Naruto was still frozen in place. "Why didn't you tell me that Mei Terumi was actually Kushina-sama?" Yoruichi questioned with a sour look on her face, thinking about how Naruto felt after having grown so close with the woman. "I didn't tell you or anyone else for that matter because it was something that needed to be heard by the young master before anyone else." Jigen looked at Naruto and saw he had a million thoughts running through his mind from the look on his face. "Allow me to quell these thoughts, young master. I know what you're thinking, but know that this was going to happen regardless. You remember the conversation we had about my visions, correct?" Naruto never looked up and just answered him with the same look of shock on his face. "The vision's outcome is nearly impossible to change, so it's the path taken that matters." "Exactly, some kind of way, whether Kalawarner brought her back the way she did or through some other means, you and Kushina were going to find each other. I thought that with everything he gave up for me that Tu-san would at least get to spend his afterlife with Ka-san. Your father had to use the Reaper Death Seal in order to stop the rampaging Kyuubi. So his soul would be forever with the Reaper, he knew this. Which is one of the reasons why he and Kushina agreed to our proposition. Kushina because she was willing to take any opportunity to see her son and Whirlpool thrive, and Minato had to be one of the greatest if not the greatest man ever to walk this earth because he was willing to give up not only his life but his wife as well to his son, who in his words he wanted to surpass him in every way possible and not just in strength. He saw how much being a mother would have meant to her and agreed for her sake as much as for yours. So considering that this is anything but a blessing does the both of them a disservice." Naruto hearing what Jigen had to say and letting it sink in, he realized he was right, but he was still a little conflicted about the whole thing. "If what you are stressing over is the whole incest thing, then quell those two. I don't know if you know this, but the Uzumaki clan were practitioners of incest themselves. Because of their healing ability there is zero possibility of being born with any sort of defect, and if that isn't enough to ease your worries, then maybe the fact that you and Kushina technically aren't mother and son anymore. Both Yoruichi and Naruto looked at him, both ready to ask the same question, but Jigen beat them to the punch and answered before they could ask. A side effect if the reincarnation cycle is that it severs immediate family ties. If you took a blood test it would come back as clanmates but no longer mother and son. Then there is the issue of your Rinnegan, which slightly alters your DNA when fully active. These bits of information made Naruto think about Kushina. If she would be the same person she was before her death, why not give it a shot? His father wanted him to. His mother wants him to, and genetics seems to want to help as well. It's not like they are telling me to marry and bang her the moment she regains her memories. After everything they have done for me there is no harm in trying, Naruto thought to himself before he let out a sigh. Naruto looked up at Jigen, who had been letting Naruto soak this all in, waiting for his rebuttal. You say it's going to happen, then I guess it's going to happen. No need in getting upset over that, but I am upset that withheld information that serious from me for that long. Jigen smiled and chuckled while Yoruichi just shook her head at him, thinking, typical Naruto, never staying hung up for too long. What about the other soul? Ah yes. The secondary function of the technique allowed her solidify her power into an orb before choosing to reincarnate a second soul. The soul wasn't dead but instead came from a different dimension. By using the solidified mana we were able to temporarily break the dimensional barrier. Bring her over. Have her body's physical makeup converted to that of this world's, as her body didn't have the ability to use chakra. It used another source. She also seemed to have been the subject of some form of experimentation, as parts of her body were machine parts, but that is no longer the case as a side effect of the transformation removed them from her body. She has been given a second chance at life that she deserved, and give you another worthy future ally and wife. When Jigen finished and Naruto soaked in the information and asked one more question. What's her name? That we don't know. She has been in the stasis chamber, unconscious since coming from her dimension. I assume she won't wake until the technique's near completion, like you with Kushina. You're not withholding any other information that I should be aware of, are you? We are, but please understand that we want what's best for you and everything will get revealed in due time. Alright, I can live with that. Naruto and Yoruichi looked at each other right before the doors burst open, revealing Galen flying towards Naruto before landing around his